This video is brought to you by Greater Commons. Greater learning, greater opportunities, greater life. Visit us at greatercommons.com.
So I want to show you how to do a basic web app using the Go programming language. And I'm just going to introduce you to the resources and give you all the code that you need and get you up and running. And you'll be able to do create, read, update, delete, and you'll be able to use Postgres to do it. And it'll all be with the Go programming language. But I want you to like this video, and I want you to retweet this video, and I want you to share it on social networks, because here on YouTube, these are the videos in my channel. And in this video here, Build Web Apps with Go Language, 135,000 people have watched it. And that's an okay video. But I made that like a year ago. And so I really need this video here to be what people are watching, because this video and the material I have to share with you is way, way better. And I've been teaching Go and web dev with Go at the university and the college level for a couple years now. And I've worked with Caleb Doxey and Bill Kennedy, right, just to get the Go code perfect. And here is the code base, the resource, here's the code pathway for learning Go web dev. And this is the best code pathway in the entire world. And I know, because this is what I do full time. I study Go web dev, and I teach it at the college and the university. And I've worked with, Caleb Doxey, created the foundation of this code base, and we've built upon it. So it's an amazing code base. It's the best code base in the entire world for learning web dev with Go. So just discovering this, just tweet this video so people can discover this, because I want people to get into the Go language. I love it, and I want to spread the gospel of Go. And so if people have a good way to learn it and get into it, they'll be more likely to use it. I'm not paid by Google either, by the way. So down here is Postgres. We're going to do this Postgres, and we'll look at this code. That's what we're going to look at. But in Postgres, and you could go install Postgres and Postgres website, right? I've lost my voice. I just got to talk quiet, I guess. But down here, you hit download, and if you're on a Mac, you just want to get this one right here. That's light, and that's easy. And if you're on a Windows, you could watch my training where I show you how to do all this. My training, you can find it at worldwidegreatercommons.com. Look there first. We're building this site all in Go, and it's a place where you'll be able to teach and deliver educational content very economically to help people learn for the greater good of humanity. Greater Commons. So if it hasn't launched yet, because the course will be up there when this launches. Right now, you could also find the course on Todd McLeod Udemy. So just go Google that, and you'll get to the course, Go Web Dev. And that shows you how to do it on Windows, Postgres, and everything. All right, so let's see it. So you get Postgres installed, and then you just want to create a database bookstore. So you can see there I have a database bookstore. That's right there. That's my database. And if we go into bookstore, and then take a look at, it's got one table, books, and we could select everything from books, right? And there, what did I mess up? Select star from books. Select, let's just try it again. Sometimes my terminal does that. You see, same command, and it didn't error out. So there are my 3 records. I've got 3 records in there. So let's look at the code. And yeah, I was working on this on my Mac. I was just wondering if I had to pull it. But here we have the code, and this is the exact same code, which is right here, right? Exact same code. It's probably like a no duh, but I'm in that, so you have access to this code. Did I already show you the URL? There's the URL. So you go into this code, and then here are all the steps to build it up. And this is an hour or 2 of training right there, so I'm not going to go through all of it. But this is the finished deal. So let's just watch it run, and then I'll show you the code and walk you through the code. So I'm going to switch into that over here on this side. I think I'm already there. Yeah, I'm in 4422. So I'm going to run that. And we'll come over and take a look at it. And so there are those 3 records we saw. And I could insert a book, but I don't want to have to try to think of an ISBN number. And so, I don't know. What's the title of a book? West with Night by Beryl Markham. If you have not read this book, I will not be steering you wrong. Go get this book. This book is like one of the best books I've ever read in my life. It's so great. I created that book, showed the record. Go back to all books. It's in there. I can update it if I want. I feel like I'm a blues singer or something. So change the numbers. I don't know. West with the Night, Beryl Markham. Let's say we're making it on sale. So now it's $14.99. Go back to all books. And Emma Jane Austen. Who wants to read that? Delete that. We got CRUD. Created, read, update, delete. And it's all restful, right? We go look at a book, books, show, nice URLs. Drop the some value in there, URL parameters. So to look at that code right here, I could go into this in quite a bit of depth. So the first place to start, if you don't know any Go web dev, it's a kind of an entire process. So I think I'm just going to keep this video short because this would be about 40 minutes for me to walk you through all this. But I think that this is the best example, this code, for learning how to do Go web dev. I kind of want to go into it. I kind of feel you saying, man, go into it. Let's go into it. So if this doesn't make sense to you, I've got an introduction to the Go programming language, and I'm just giving you the resources, and I'm not trying to sell you something. I mean, obviously, this is also how I help support my family. Got 2 kids, and but if you don't have the resources, the money, the course is usually like $10 or $15. But if you don't have the money to pay for that, just send me an email on Twitter. Message me on Twitter. And here's my Twitter deal. And at Todd McLeod. I guess I'll show you the URL. That's better. Send me a message on Twitter and just say, Todd, I totally want to take the course, but I'm a college student, or I live in India, or I don't have that money. Whatever. I don't care what your reason is. You don't have the money. That's fine. I'll give you free access. I want you to learn it for the good of all, for the greater good, for the greater commons. That's why we're building that site. So just send me a message and I'll give you free access. But I have an introduction to the Go programming language, which will teach you everything. All right, so we're going to go look at the net HTTP package. So if this doesn't make sense, go take that introduction course. And here in the net HTTP package, we have type handler. And type handler is an interface. Okay, so an interface allows polymorphism in Go. So I click on that and I see type handler. And anything that has this method implicitly implements the handler interface. And that means that if I have some type and it has a method and that method has this signature, then a value of that type also is of a handler type. And so that's how interfaces work. And again, go watch the introduction training if that doesn't make sense, because I'm going to try to keep this a little brief. Got a little bit of like a hangnail or something. That's totally weird. All right. So that's the handler interface. And serve HTTP, response writer, and a pointer to request. My joke, which I tell in class, is what does the interface say? It says, hey, baby, if you've got these methods, then you're my type. So the handler interface. And the reason the handler interface is the entry point for understanding the net HTTP package is because if you look up here, handlers are used all over. You see them in the index of all the different functions and things. It's like it's used all over. Handler, handler, handler. And particularly here, right, if we look for listen and serve, there's listen and serve. And it takes an address and a handler. And so that handler right here that we pass in, right? That's going to be our server, our serve mux, our default serve mux, our mux, whatever you want to call it. And so if we pass in nil, as I was passing in, so let's just go down here and look at it, and we'll search for nil. So there's nil. And if you pass in nil, you use the default serve mux. Okay, so the default serve mux. Well, with the default serve mux, we can use handle and handle func. Handle and handle func. So handle and handle func registers the handler function for the given pattern in the default serve mux. And the default serve mux is your server. So you could say server, you could say router, you could say serve mux, you could say mux. It's all pretty much the same. The documentation for serve mux explains how patterns are matched. So let me just show you. So the starting point is HTTP listen and serve, port 8080, nil, right? Meaning default serve mux. And with default serve mux, we can use handle func, HTTP handle func. Handle func wants a pattern and a string, and then a function with that signature. That is a type in Go. You can look at the language speculation. You can look at the language spec. Here's the language spec. And in the language spec, you can see all the different types, including function types, first-class citizens. Right? So we've got a type here, go back to the documentation, which is a function with that signature. I'm in the pantry, by the way, because my kids are asleep. I don't want to make too much noise. So it's like my little sound booth. So handle func takes the pattern string, which is the route, and then it takes a func with this signature. So there's my first func with that signature, func, index, response writer, pointer to request. Response writer, pointer to request. That's it. Now I'm routing up my whole deal. So this route, run this code. This route, run this code. This route, run this code. That's it. This route, run this code. It's totally cool. So HTTP redirect here, just to keep it easy, keep it restful, keep the routes meaningful. HTTP redirect, and redirect takes the response writer. And by the way, this is how servers work. Client-server architecture, right? It's like a request comes in and you write a response. A request comes into the server and the server writes a response. So that's why this wants that signature, because it's like, okay, request came in, we got to write a response. Request came in, got to write a response, right? That's why it needs a function with that signature. So redirect takes the response, the request, where you want to send, and then the status code. And that's just a constant that says, you know, hey, it's 303, see other. Which means if you come into default, you end up getting taken to route books, and that's where you go, and that serves this one, books index. So if the request method's not get, you're out of here. HTTP error and the response writer, and then the status text and status method not allowed, and then we return. So if you try to post something to this route, no, we don't take that method here, only get. And then we do a database query, and this DB here, that comes from GoDoc. I don't know how much longer I keep going. GoDoc database SQL. Right, and so here we have the DB stuff. And if you look up at the top, package SQL provides a generic interface around SQL databases. Must be used in conjunction with a database driver. Let's go see what drivers there are. Drivers let you drive something. Let's go driving. And here's for Postgres. So I like this one. It's pure Go. And you just get that driver. Get back here. So DB. And then we could do a query. And the query's right here. Here's the query string where you put in your SQL. If you got any arguments, it'll take an unlimited, 0 to unlimited number of arguments. Gives you back a pointer to rows. So you just get the address back. It's a pointer to an address where all the values are stored. Get a pointer to rows and an error. With a pointer to rows, you have all these methods available to you. So you could do next and scan. Well, you could do a for loop, because next returns a bool. So you could for loop over the next, next, next. And then you could scan and get the values and put it into the destination. And when you put it into the destination, it needs a pointer. Like I said, if you don't understand this, go check my Go courses. So how is that used? DB, right? Because up here, up here I have var DB, and from package SQL, right? DB, I think I might have said package DB earlier, so that was just me being tired. DB.query, you know, from that DB query, so pointer to DB, I could pull query, because let me just explain that. Make sure it's clear. Right, so package SQL, package SQL, package SQL. I do open, I get a pointer to a DB. See that? Open, pointer to a DB. And open takes a driver name, and then like how do you connect to that database? And that's all specified in whatever driver you're using. So up here, I create var DB from package SQL, type DB, a pointer to it, right? And then here I do from package SQL open, from package SQL open. And then I pass in the driver name, Postgres. And I pass in the data source stuff. So here it is. This is how you connect to Postgres. Postgres, username, password, and then all that stuff. Let me move this over because I don't think we're using that. And so now DB, when you do open, it gives you back a pointer to a DB. With a pointer to a DB, a value of type DB, to be specific with my language. When you have a pointer to type DB, you have all these methods available. I can now run query, this one right here. So I have a pointer to DB here. I ping it just to make sure we're really connected to the database. And with a pointer to DB, I could do that query, pass in my SQL, and when I do that, it gives me back rows and an error. Check my error right here. There are my rows, and then I do my for rows next, so that returns a bool. As long as there's another record, it'll be true, true, true. False, no more records, we're done. And then I do rows scan, and I give it a pointer to where I want that value stored, and I match it up. So ISBN, title, book, author. And here I have a slice of book. A book is a struct with ISBN, title, author, price. A struct is just an aggregate composite data structure, and it holds all of your other data, whatever other pieces of data you want to put in there, just stick them in a struct. Composes together, composite data structure to aggregates together as much data as you want. All right, so that's a book. Here's a slice of book, which is books. So I'm appending to books, each book, and then I pass all those books in here. And then I have my templates in Go. So I pass in books, which is a slice, and then I range over all those books. And for each book, I print out the ISBN, the title, the author, the price. It's very sweet. It's a beautiful language. It's very elegant. Really clean. Once you understand it, man, code's so nice. So that's books, and then the rest of it is a lot like that. Like book show, instead of getting all the books and using query, well, sorry, I just spun past it. We use query row, and that just gives us one row where we're saying, hey, where ISBN is equal to, whatever the ISBN is we asked for. And that's Postgres right there. That's just how you pass in and identify a parameter to a SQL statement. And then it's the same way. The other thing which is neat is, let me see here. Here's where we create a book. So we get form submissions, And you can look at form value here. So from my request, I want the form value. You can go in and look at that. And that will give it from the body parameters if a form's been submitted, or from the URL. That's how form value works. So we're getting it from the URL. So just give me the form value. We're assigning it. We create a book, right, using a composite literal. Composite literal is the type, and then curly braces. We're putting nothing in it, so there's nothing in there yet. But then we'd set the ISBN equal to that, title that. And then for the price, this came back as a string. So we now have to take that P and parse it as a float. So string convert parse as float. We want parse as a float 32, right? And that gives us back a float. Sorry, parse it as, that's kind of weird. Float 32, parse as float 30. I'm going to have to check that code and think that through for a second here. Parse float converts the string s to a floating point number with precision specified by bit size 32 for float 32 or 64 for float 64. When bit size is 32, the result still has type float 64, but it will be convertible to float 32 without changing its value. So that was an error on my part. I need to change just that part. That's float 32. Float 32. I think it said, maybe not, I think it said still float 64. The result still has type float 64, so that's not an error on my part. Let me change that back. So that's still type float 64, which needs to be converted to 32. Now we do db exec. So db exec is, where is it? It's right here. So execute is how you execute another query, right? You want to do or execute some other SQL. You don't just want to do a query row, but you want to insert or update, use execute. And it gives you back a result and error. And the result just tells you like how many rows were affected or what the result of your executed SQL statement was. And so you do that, db execute, and then insert into books, you know, those fields in the database, and then these values, and it inserts the record. And then update's very similar. So you just do, here we goes, update form, book update form. This one was book create process, book update form. Here's book update process. And so update process is another db execute update books, set ISBN to this, and it updates it. And then delete is just db execute delete from books where this is equal to ISBN. It's pretty elegant, pretty beautiful. You are operating at the level of complete understanding when you use this. You haven't abstracted away your responsibility as a engineer and a programmer to know what you're doing. That doesn't mean we're all going to build our own CPUs and write everything in zeros and ones. We still abstract away into a language, but you understand methods. You understand status codes, right? We've got methods here. We've got status codes here. You know, you're looking at the form values coming back. You know, you're working in a static language. You're doing your right conversions. You're checking your types. You're doing all of your RESTful routing. It's really the best way to go. You're not relying on somebody else to build some framework where you don't really understand the fundamentals and the language you're working with, but are instead up at some abstracted level, working in the way somebody else prescribed, restricting you, not giving you flexibility, slowing down your performance. You don't want that. You want to learn how to do it real, do it right. So that's just a little bit. I just had to get this out here, man, because this stuff is like many years in process to, you know, get a code pathway, and this solution right here is like the best, the sweetest, and you know, the clearest. Just this one little example right here, this culmination of the Postgres section. It's actually a culmination of so much, of years of work of many people. So if you found this to be beneficial and if it gave you insight, please like this video and tweet it and share it with others, even though my voice is all whacked. And I want to get that message out there to people that, look at how you should be doing Go programming, web dev, and we got to get this video replaced. So thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions or, anything, you could find me on Twitter, and I watch that several times a week. And so I love connecting with people around the world, and I think it's fantastic, this amazing world we live in now. And so don't hesitate to reach out. And if you want access to my courses for free, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to help. If you don't have the financial means to pay for it, it's my honor to return the favor. So many people helped me in life with my education. It's my honor to give it back. All right. Y'all have a good day.